Good evening, good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are joining us from. My name is Juliet Ouma. I am the Programs Assistant at African Pharmaceutical Network. Thank you for making time to join us this afternoon for this industry discussion forum. And I would like to request us to give our colleagues maybe 2 minutes or so that they can join us. I can see that right now we are at 25 attendees, but we can grant them at least 2 more minutes, then we can start the session this afternoon. Meanwhile, feel free to introduce yourself on the chat. Let us know who you are and where you are joining us from. And it is a delight to have each and every one of you join us. Thank you so much. Right. Thank you so much, Imran. I see you. Thank you for joining us this time. You're joining us from Mozambique. It's a pleasure to have you join us. Feel free to introduce yourself on the chat. Would love to acknowledge your presence and just to honor you for joining us this afternoon as everyone else gets to join us. So we'll begin the presentation at 4:04. We will get started. In the meantime, you can introduce yourself. I have Salvatore is joining us from Tanzania. Thank you so much. You are most welcome. Thank you, Dr. Monali. She's joining us from Kenya. Glad to have you here with us, Doc. All right, and it's exactly 4:04. So to those who joined us late, my name is Juliet Ouma. I am the Programs Assistant at African Pharmaceutical Network, and it's a delight to have each and every one of you join us this afternoon. And we have a very interesting discussion, but before we get to it, I would like to share a few announcements with us. As you may have noticed, your microphone and your camera have been turned off, and there is a reason for that. During the Q&A session, we will grant you an opportunity to unmute your mic if you'd like to voice your question or to voice your comment. So this afternoon, we will be discussing environmentally sustainable healthcare and the role of the pharmaceutical industry in this engagement. So while we are going on, please feel free to use the Q&A box to share your questions, and we will have Dr. Jayesh take them at the end of the session. So with that, I would like to give a quick overview of African Pharmaceutical Network, who we are, and the kind of work that we do. Sorry about that. So who is APN and what do we do? African Pharmaceutical Network was established at the backdrop of COVID-19, that is in 2020. And the purpose of our organization being established is that we had seen the challenges that the pharmaceutical industry faces, that is within the African continent. And these challenges include limited local manufacturing, weak regulatory systems, lack of robust healthcare systems, and a limited healthcare workforce. So with that, African Pharmaceutical Network was established as a network that brings together pharmaceutical professionals, stakeholders, and organizations working within the African pharmaceutical sector for the purpose of knowledge sharing, policy shaping, and innovation nurturing partnerships towards a robust pharmaceutical sector anchored on reliable access to safe, efficacious, affordable, and quality medicines and pharmaceutical services to the African people. And this is our mission as African Pharmaceutical Network, that the African people have a reliable access to safe, efficacious, and affordable quality medicines. Our background, as I have said, we had limited local manufacturing capacity this is actually what we have right now, limited local pharmaceutical manufacturing capacity within the continent. As you know, Africa relies on importation of medicines and pharmaceutical products from between the range of 70% to 80%. This is a very wide range. And even during the time of COVID, you realize that most people are saying that the continent in itself, it's at a disadvantage because we have to rely on other industries within other markets, that is markets such as Europe and India, so that we may be able to receive our medicines, the vaccines that we needed as at that time. And this narrative still continues. But my question to you this afternoon is, for all these years, how is it that we have not been able to change this narrative? How are you involved in ensuring that within the continent we have pharmaceutical manufacturing? If you're working within an organization, how are you contributing to the establishment that one day or one time that we will say, for us as an organization, we have contributed to local manufacturing within Africa? Another reason that we had was a segregated continental pharmaceutical industry. You find that the stakeholders within the industry are all working in silos. And what I usually ask myself as a professional, how many times are supply chain professionals acquainted with regulatory policies? Because at the end of the day, if you're not acquainted with regulatory policies, this is going to affect the access of medicines. Some of these policies can also affect your supply chains. So how can we say that if you are working in this industry, how do we come together and ensure that that which we are doing actually leads to one goal? We cannot do this if we are all working in silos. So we ought to come together and work towards a common goal. Another reason that we saw was there was a lack of a common platform to drive industry-led continental agendas. The when, the where, the how, and with whom do we discuss these discussions? You find that we lack a common platform. And where there is a platform, you find that we do not know those who are within those platforms. And when do we come together and actually drive these agendas? And us being the professionals who are within the industry, we are the ones who know the challenges that are within the industry. And mind you, the solutions are also with us. If I know that there is a challenge when it comes to pharmaceutical workforce development, then I can say that these are the solutions that I have as an individual or as an organization, that these are the solutions that I think that this can help us. But if we do not come together and find these solutions within ourselves, then we will never be able to we will never be able to achieve the agenda that we have or the goal that we have as Africa. So how does APN do this kind of work? We do this kind of work through fostering continental knowledge sharing and workforce development within the pharmaceutical industry. We give you a platform where you can come and receive knowledge. We give you a platform where you can come and share knowledge, where knowledge can be disseminated. And you can use this knowledge to go and better your community. You can use that knowledge to go and better your organization and the kind of work that you do. Without that knowledge, then there is nothing that we can say we are working towards. Then we also promote best practices and stimulate innovative models of service delivery within the pharmaceutical industry. Good distribution practices, good manufacturing practices. It is with the practices that we have and the innovative models that we have that can guarantee us that we are offering quality service to the African people. If our standards are poor, if our standards are low quality, then we are not giving the best to our own people. And therefore, we are dragging the industry behind. Then we also do this through championing for responsive market-driven policies and regulatory frameworks in the African pharmaceutical industry. The policies that we have, they must be responsive. The policies that we have, they must actually stimulate investment within the industry, and that is within the African industry. We shouldn't be having policies that actually, our policies always the first thing is to ensure that they will ensure safety of our patients. But when we have policies that are also not market responsive. They don't foster investments. Then what do we have? Then we also ensure that we stimulate investments within the African pharmaceutical industry. When people come to invest within the industry, they come to invest for good and for the good of our people, not just them only. So our priorities are pharmaceutical workforce development, business ecosystem support, and policy shaping. Our how, we do this through industry discussion forums such as this. This is a knowledge sharing industry discussion forum where you gain the knowledge that you need with regards to the topic that we're having this afternoon. We also do this through training and experiential learning opportunities. We have a pharmacy academy. We usually have workshops from time to time where we train professionals on different trends within the market. But within the pharmacy academy, we have our core courses that we train on for the pharmaceutical professionals. Then we also do this through policy advocacy and environment shaping, where we come together and advocate for different policies. Right now within the continent, we are discussing the AMA Treaty. And we know that AMA is actually leading towards harmonization of regulatory processes, harmonization of frameworks. When you look at these kinds of things, then you know at the end of the day, we will be able to have access to medicines. When regulatory processes are difficult to actually work with, then we know that those timelines will never be met and those medicines will never be available for the patients at that time when they are needed. Then we do this also through market intelligence and technical support to stakeholders. We offer you market intelligence from different times depending on what you want. We conduct researches for you. If you're coming into a new market and you don't know how this market is, we can do a market research for you, that is for us as an organization, and get to support you as a stakeholder in the industry with the support that you need. So our team, it's constituted of an advisory board, a secretariat team, and the leadership team. So in our advisory board, we have McDonald Nose, he's a board member. We have Kirti Nasai, who works with Chemonix in South Africa. We also have John Paul Omolo, who is also our board chairperson. Within the secretariat team, we have Dr. Lucy Machocho, our technical programs assistant, myself. And then at the leadership team, we are under the able leadership of Dr. David Odhiambo, he's our curator, Kelvin Odongo, our director of operations, Dr. Esther Anyango, the director of research and knowledge management. We also have Dr. Denish Kineni, who is the head of the Pharmacy Academy and the lead of pharmacovigilance training. And we also have Dr. Anushri Patel, lead of regulatory affairs training. So our partners, who are our partners, we have FIP, IFPMA, H3D Foundation, Bloom, Empower Swiss, African Pharmaceutical Forum, Reculture, and the SPAC. Our geographical footprint is on 24 different countries in Africa, but we are also expanding towards other countries that are outside Africa, including Europe, including Asia. So our offering, we have the pharmaceutical workforce development where we offer trainings, and these are the trainings that are within the Pharmacy Academy on my left. And then we also have workshops and industry discussion forums, which are designed from time to time, depending on the need that is within the market. Our courses, currently we have 3 courses: regulatory affairs training, pharmaceutical supply chain management, and pharmacovigilance and patient safety. Feel free to scan the codes appearing on your screen so that you may learn more about these 3 courses that we are offering. Here is the regulatory affairs course, the supply chain course, and the pharmacovigilance and patient safety course. So what next for you? You can become a member of APN, you can partner with us on our projects, or you can get to learn with us in our Pharmacy Academy or in our training sessions that we'll be having come 2025. And so with that, thank you so much for lending me your time so that I can take you through an overview of what we do as an organization. And now back to the topic of discussion this afternoon: environmentally sustainable healthcare, the role of the pharmaceutical industry. And I know Dr. Jayesh is going to take us through this, and we'll get to understand what really is this and how does it affect the industry. When you're producing your products, when they become wastes, where do they go? And what impact do they have on the environment, on human health, on animal health? What impact do they bring into the ecosystem? So with that, I would like to read Dr. Jayesh's biography so as to introduce him, then we will get into the session. Yes, Dr. Jayesh. So I would like to read Dr. Jayesh's bio, then we can get into the session. So who is Dr. Jayesh? Dr. Jayesh Pandit is the Pharmacovigilance Country Head and Qualified Person of Pharmacovigilance, Coordination Lead of Bayer Pharmaceutical and Consumer Healthcare in East Africa, based in Kenya. He oversees pharmacovigilance across East Africa and Northwest Africa. Prior to joining Bayer in 2013, he led the Medicines Information and Pharmacovigilance Division at Kenya's National Regulatory Authority, Pharmacy and Poisons Board for a decade. He was able to develop Kenya's national pharmacovigilance system to ensure the quality, safety, and efficacy of medicines. Dr. Pandit has pioneered initiatives including Kenya's Eco-pharmacovigilance reporting system, integration of pharmacovigilance into public health and vaccine programs, and formal evaluation systems for clinical trials. He has worked extensively at national, regional, and global levels with organizations such as WHO, USAID, and the Gates Foundation, contributing to the regulatory advancement and public health programs. He is a mentor and an advocate of patient safety. Dr. Pandit is actively involved in combating counterfeit medicines and promoting pharmacovigilance discipline. He holds memberships in different professional organizations, including the Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya, International Society of Pharmacovigilance, that is ISOP, and the European Federation of Pharmaceutical Industry and Associations, FPA. He has held leadership roles also, such as the treasurer of ISOP Africa chapter, and he's the former chair of the Pharmacovigilance and Medical Affairs Committee at the Kenya Association of Pharmaceutical Industries, CAPI. And with that, I would like to welcome you, Dr. Jayesh, so that you may take us through this session this afternoon. Welcome.
Juliet, very good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all those who are joining us. Lucy, can you, Juliet, can you confirm if you see my screen?
As soon as it comes up, I will let you know. It's coming up, Doc. We can see it.
You can see it. Okay, give me a second. Yes. Okay, so once again, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all. Thank you, APN, for this opportunity to share something that's very close to my heart, something that I've developed a new passion towards, and hopefully something that's new for everyone who's joining us today. With that, first and foremost, just to reaffirm that I'm here in my capacity. Yes, I'm bringing in the knowledge that we are sharing from ISOP, but all the views that I present here, I present them on myself and the understanding that I've had with some forward-looking statements on how we can all work and grow together to improve the field of pharmaceuticals affecting the environment and how sustainability can be brought in, especially to our continent here in Africa. So let me pose a question first and foremost by asking everybody, when's the last time, if there was one, when's the last time we all thought about what happens with the medicines that we throw away, right? If you are in a position to contribute, please raise your hand. I would like to make this as interactive as possible. Then Juliet would allow you to speak. So please feel free. But when's the last that you actually thought of what's been happening to the medicines that you and I either prescribe, we dispense, or we administer in our patients? When's the last that we thought about the fact that these medicines come from somewhere, from some factory? What happens to the effluent that is discharged from that factory, right? If I remember, this is a long lost, forgotten important bit of science. And it is today that I feel that through APN, if we are able to bring it to you all, we may see a new frontier where we can make medicines sustainable for everyone, right? We are all aware that currently there is a lot of discussions around weather patterns changing. We talk about El Ninos, we talk about floods or very deep spells of heat, waves that are flowing over the continents. But is there something that you and I can possibly do to still have a greener and safer environment, right? So just to give you a background, pharmaceutical waste is there, right? We all know that there is some level of waste that comes in, and I want to make you start thinking about where do these wastes actually come from? Do you know, do you remember where waste comes from? Is there something that you feel that we can still do that can help everybody? Um, Medicines, we know, just like what you and I would do, purchase a little extra, say, multivitamins or some paracetamols and keep them at home for another day. Imagine the fact that that is your home. Now, the excess of stock is also translated in the pharmacy where you buy them from. That excess of stock is again extended to the distributor who supplied that pharmacy, who brought it to you, right? And likewise, the excess of stock that is there at the manufacturing site. Now, they will expire on us, right, from time to time. And we need to keep that in mind. It's an essential part of living these days. So we need medicines that are there, bought and kept in excess. But it is that bit of disposal of this medicine, especially in the wrong manner, that I want to draw your attention today to. Why? Because if I gave you a bit of statistics from the US, then it is estimated that about 3 to 7% of these medicines intended for patients go unused, right? And that bit of unused medicines, right, that is there accounts for about 8 billion Canadian dollars. So you can imagine that that is a significant amount of money to all of us here in Africa. When we look at why these medicines go unused, then the following reasons came up in that study. That patients felt that, well, I'm better, I've recovered, I feel good, I don't need the medicines anymore. And we know that this is a serious issue when we talk about antimicrobial resistance. It may not be as much an issue when we talk about an acute injury to a head or a foot, and the painkillers are then stopped, right? But on the same amount, yes, pharmacovigilance, of course, comes in at 6.5%. But again, patients from time to time forget. So they're left with excess medicines. So keeping that background in your mind, right, we move to the sources of pharmaceutical waste. So I hope you paused and you thought of this as well. But pharmaceutical waste comes from a whole variety of sources. Yes, from the manufacturing that we've already spoken on, but remember at the manufacturing side, there could also be the clinical trials that are running, or the clinical trials that we are running in our country, right, at the various trial centers or hospitals, right? So the medicines get discarded there from time to time as well. Those who are in the active pharma industry, those who are reps, you do know that there are unused samples that are there with you and I, right? And they will expire on us as well. At the same time, there are products that uh, either you are non-compliant to or non-adherent to, or they don't work on you. So our parents, for example, my father was to be given, say, an antihypertensive or an anti-diabetic today, uh, takes it for a few days, and the doctor says, nah, this doesn't seem to be working. Or my father went back saying that, oh, I've got so and such a reaction. What can I do? So those medicines are left back with us, and a new prescription is generated, and we start taking that in, right? Um, all those kind of can be put in that one way or the other will have an expiry. But then there is the important concept of counterfeit and spurious medicines that are there in our countries, unfortunately on some of our shelves, right? And the fact that you and I dispose of these medicines partially used from time to time. Very important and often forgotten is in the theoretical part, we learned about pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics. But in the real world, we forget about this. The fact that we take medicines, the medicine or the API or some component of that medicine will have to be excreted, right? And the common sources are either renally, so via the urine, or metabolically digested. It goes out through the poop that we have, right? You can imagine this is a whole bouquet of sources of pharmaceutical waste for you and I in the human field. Now you can extend this to livestock, right? You can extend this to aquaculture. Think about the medical devices that we use. Think about cosmetics that we use. Think about vitamins, right? That we use from time to time. It's a huge portion that often remains forgotten, and it is now gradually taking interest globally. And that's my intention today, to try and bring everybody here through APN on board to let's start thinking differently. This is the concept or the evolving discipline of eco-pharmacovigilance. And the definition is there. If I was to break the definition down, we have a similar definition for pharmacovigilance, right? And pharmacovigilance looks at the same opportunity, but we are doing this at the level of the patient, right? You and I, or our relatives or friends, or our patients at large. This is now going a step ahead when we are looking at this to be in the environment, right? How is the fact that you and I are taking medicines affecting the environment in which you and I cohabitate, right? It's been called in different names. I like the word eco-pharmacovigilance because it closely resembles to my daily duties, and that way I can refer to it easily and apply on a day-to-day basis. So let me bring this example to everyone. I hope everyone is with me so far, right? So this is an emerging discipline, and we are looking at an opportunity to learn more on this. And why is that important? So how did pharmacovigilance start? Pharmacovigilance, you remember, started with the fact that, oh, somebody reported about phocomelia, right, in the late 50s. And it was to do with one medicine, right? And it was a medicine used in pregnancy to prevent nausea and vomiting. And somebody reported in a journal and started thinking about this, right? Similarly, the effect of all the pharmaceuticals to the environment had a similar background in the sense that um, it was found that in the Far East, right, the Asian countries, suddenly the population of vultures, right, started going down. And these are the gypsy vultures, as they are called there. The gypsy or the gyps vultures population went down, and people started wondering, hold on, what's happening? And from the carcasses, or when the carcasses were picked and examined in the lab, it was seen that they had a very large amount of painkillers in their body, right? This was diclofenac that was picked up from the carcass of the vultures. Now, where did this diclofenac come in into the vultures? Nobody went injecting the vultures. And it was later found, this whole story took about 10 years, right? But it was then brought down to the fact that vultures, by their natural instinct, they feed on carcasses, and the carcasses of animals. So these were dead animals who are actually given high doses of diclofenac. Apart from an NSAID effect, it was seen that diclofenac works very well in cattle, also to prevent colic, right? So this is how it is used in veterinary medicine or in animal health at large. But coming back, it showed that those vultures, the scavengers who fed on these carcasses, their population went down, they died. They died because there was a lot of uric acid accumulation around their vital organs, right? And this causes the death in them. If I brought in another interesting twist to this, yes, the vulture population went down, and maybe some of us might think, "Ah, but that's okay, we are not interested in vultures." Why it should be an interest to us is because there was yet another problem that this whole episode caused. Vultures also feed, or large vultures go and attack small animals. So rodents, our rats and the mice, as well as the dogs, right, that are out there. And no vultures, so dogs and rats population increased. And it increased to a level where it was actually seen that rabies started coming back. Yeah. And rabies comes back to affect you and I. So I hope you are all joining these dots and seeing what a vicious cycle we can all get into by not considering the regular use of medicines and their appropriate disposal on a daily basis. I invite everybody look at this video. It's there on the internet, on YouTube. Save the Nature's Cleanup Crew. You will understand the role of vultures better. It was also seen, I mean, as many other studies have been published, but what one needs to know is they also realize that actually there is meloxicam, which is a safer drug to use in animals than diclofenac, right? So you can see how you and I practice medicine, and how vets also practice their medicine. And it is such a discipline that you and I need to work very closely with them. This is not the only problem. There are problems that have been seen where pharmaceutical companies discharge their effluent into rivers and lakes and oceans where there are fishes. Now, just the way we have gender within us, male and female, there are male fish and female fish. Similar to us, when we talk about ladies in general, I know there are exceptions, but ladies in general are very soft spoken, right? Very kind. Again, I want to say that there are exceptions to all rules these days, but ladies are that they lie in a corner and they don't want to be disturbed. and the male comes in a more aggressive manner, very loud spoken the way I am, right? And wants to bring about chaos everywhere. The rivers where fishes have been there, rivers, lakes, oceans, and they were exposed to high levels of pharmaceutical waste, which contained estrogens and progestrogens. It was seen that the male fish also started taking a tendency to show characteristics of a female fish. So the male fish, rather than darting around, would go and hide behind a rock or under a stone and kind of just be quiet and want to be there, right? It is also seen that tadpoles, so we talk about frogs, so tadpoles with high estrogens in the water in which they live in, they are starting to show a feminine tendency where there are immature ovarian egg cells or they lack oviducts, they become sterile. So you can see that there is another angle to which the damage is being caused. There is a whole concept of EPPPs, environmentally persistent pharmaceutical pollutants. The way we say that I have an API and the rest is all helped to build my tablet or the syrup, there are ingredients of that API or the other items that we are using to build our tablets and syrups that have a whole different impact on the environment. That's what the EPPPs are all about. They remain in the environment for a much longer period of time, and they have issues that they cause within the environment that affects the birds, the animals that live in the environment along with you and I. So we talk about pharmaceuticals seeping into the environment. You can imagine what is happening with the cancer-causing medicines, right? There is a whole new research these days that is coming up with antipsychiatric medicines. So the antipsychiatric medicines, we talk about clonazepam, we talk about which one I forgot the name that I was reading on. These cause a lot of problems back because birds, plants, also the way some of these antipsychiatric medicines work on acetylcholine. Remember that the animals there and fungi, plants also have ACH in them, right? And these are having an off-target effect on those bacteria or the fungi that is there as well, right? So a huge component works when we talk about antimicrobials. I had the opportunity to work in the area of animal pharmacovigilance as well in my company. So I can tell you it's a whole different ballgame where the way that we take medicines in animal health, there is a concept of a washout period before you actually slaughter the animal. So if you've given that animal, that cuckoo, that chicken that you have, or the goat that is there, or the cow that is there, there has to be an adequate time period that you provide them before you wash, so that it is washed out before you slaughter them. And if that time period is not considered or adhered to, then the fact that that antimicrobial will remain in the flesh, in the meat of that animal, which you will then bring onto your table and then eat. And that causes antimicrobial resistance as well as the consequences that we face with that in your and my bodies, right? So you can see here statistics, right, globally, how this is all affecting everybody, right? I hope everyone is with me so far. right? Okay, thank you, Juliet. So then we move on to the next stage where there is the evolving concept of green medicine. Now, what is green medicine? It's not the color green, but we are trying to bring about medicines that are environmentally more and more friendly. And I'll go into deeper parts of this where the bottom line remains, if you don't need to give medicine, don't give, right? That's the bottom line. But if you do need to give one that is going to be sustainable to the environment. So what is sustainability in the environment in terms of you and I in the pharmaceutical industry? Uh, how can we talk about sustainability here? Then designing a green medicine is making it from scratch, one that is going to be safer for the environment and not cause the problems that we have talked about so far in my presentation. So what are we looking at in green medicines? We're looking at optimizing our manufacturing in terms of reducing the carbon footprint that your and my factory will have on the environment. So when we talk about carbon footprint, naturally we talk about using less energy to still make our medicines, right? Using less water in the manufacturing of our medicine, making sure that there is lesser carbon dioxide that is emitted during our manufacturing process that is again going to affect the environment. And land is expensive. We are all used to huge pharmaceutical companies. Do we still need such large pharmaceutical companies? Can we not come up with a modern pharmaceutical company that is using the above that I mentioned, reducing carbon footprint, less energy demanding processes, less water, and make it in a smaller land mass so that there is still land out there to grow the fruits, the vegetables, and the housing that we all may still be demanding, right? So this is what we are looking at. Going deeper into this, I know of some pharma companies who have seen the need that we have our blister packs, right? So we have alu or alu PVC. So the PVC packs are gradually being converted to polyethylene terephthalate, so the PET blisters. The intention behind this is rather than have mixed material, right? Why can't you just have one material? The thinking behind is if it's one material, there is easier ways of reusing them or recycling them or getting them incinerated rather than the confusing way that, okay, but no, this contains aluminum as well as plastic. Oh, but it also contains this other ingredient. What do I do with this? So people are gradually trying to adopt a mono material packing. There is the whole concept of whatever I am manufacturing, can it have a good potential for recycling? All the waste that I collect should go to a ready market that somebody is ready to pick all my pharmaceutical waste, pay me for it, but make something better out of it, right? So we've heard of plastics being used more and more to make poles, right, for electricity. Typically, we use cemented poles or other metals. Then why can't we use plastic? When we use road diversion signals, we use other items out there. Why can't we actually bring this in and use from the concept that we know that they're coming from an industry which is otherwise going to harm the environment that we live in? I am not going to compromise on the quality of this medicine that we have. The fact that it has to be stable in the environment until the last mile in our patients. Yet it is time for you and I, especially here, when we talk about Kenya or we talk about our individual countries in Africa and globally, is there a role that you and I can play to better this? I know in the modern world, in the Europes and the Americas, there is a concept of take back, right? So you've got your brown envelopes and you can have all your expired medicines and take it back to those pharmacies. When I was young, budding pharmacist in those years, this concept was there in Kenya. Today, unfortunately, we don't talk about this, right? So is there a possibility that through APN, through the other partners that we all work with. And Juliet, you gave a large presentation on the partners that you already work with. Can we not together look into this problem in a more detailed manner and come up with lasting solutions that we can be proud of, that Jayesh and APN, we all partnered together with so and so to make the environment in which we live in more greener and safer, right? There are pharma companies that are coming up that they want to absolutely move away from plastic, this PVC and PETs. And can we not have dry fiber, right? So recyclable plant material, bring it in a very dried manner and make that the secondary packing or the primary packing, yet not compromising on the safety, efficacy, and the quality of that medicine. I touched upon the collection of these medicines, but today we need to go beyond. We are looking at the collection. We need to sort these medicines out properly and then reprocess them in a way that it is more sustainable for the environment, right? What is it that we can do that can help everybody uh, to still have safer medicines all around? In Kenya, I'm sure in other countries as well, we have the concept of the Green Cross pharmacies. Is there an opportunity for you and I here to take Green Cross pharmacies to a whole different level where we can say we are an edge above the rest? My pharmacy is, is a pharmacy plus, right? My pharmacy is a version 2.0 where I am really there for the patient, but I also care for the environment in which I live in, right? So we need to go beyond our regular practice every day of pharmacy to a level that we talk about recycling of these medicines and the material that we talk about, and how can we partner better with such recycling plants. I see a great importance at this point to bring about the role of, in Kenya, Pharmacy and Poisons Board, our medicines regulator. You can consider that in any other country that you are joining us from. The Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya and its equivalent in your country. We talk about what we have in Kenya, the Young Pharmacists Group. Can we not bring everybody together on the table and say, guys, what is it that we can do, right? We talk about the industry. So in Kenya, we've got Kenya Association of Pharmaceutical Industry. You may have a similar umbrella term in your country. I bring, and in the new fashion say, should I shout out loud to MEDAC? These are our colleagues in Kenya who are working in the medical devices agencies. So can we bring and partner with them, because their packing also has an impact on the environment. Their products also have an impact on the environment. What is it that we can all come together today and work towards a greener and safer environment? When we talk about the industry, we talk about everyone. There is still the important role that we need to bring this concept back to the healthcare professionals, our doctors, our nurses, our pharmacists, our farm techs, our clinical officers, our vet colleagues. We need to bring this concept back to them. So wherever we do have an opportunity to engage them, can we engage them also that I am a pharmacovigilante and I want to bring to you the concept about saving patients' lives, but also looking at greener medicines. The modern world is already seeing a gradual shift. It's a very infantry switch already, but it's coming in for sure where doctors are being are receiving promotions, right, from pharma companies to say our pack and our medicine is a green medicine. We have manufactured it in this way and it has an edge over the others. So we recommend that you kind of move towards prescribing such products. Right? I hope you can see an opportunity for those who are medical reps, who are MSLs, who want to look at the environment in a bigger platform, that there is a role that is already coming in and the tide that will gradually shift from the routine medicine towards a greener medicine, right? What is it that you and I can do? And this is my call, I believe, to those of us who are in academia, right, who have students with us, who are mentors, who are mentees, can we start looking at papers? I'm already working with some. Can we have a concept note ready? Can we look at the rivers that are flowing near our houses? And what is it that you and I can do near our factories and the common rivers that are otherwise a pride to our country? Not forgetting that there is need to have strong, stringent regulations that will force everybody to do this. And that's in one of my next slides, that this is changing. So at CAPI, and I borrow this with their permission, that at the industry level, we are aware of what is there called in Kenya as the Sustainable Waste Management Act of 2002. And the act brings about the principle of polluter pays principle. So anything that you manufacture, anything, whether it is you have a bakery and you make a loaf of bread, whether you are a dairy company and you make cheese and milk and other yogurts, everything ultimately has a waste product. And this whole extended producer responsibility concept is coming in to tell you, you are responsible for the waste that is generated. So at the industry, as much as each one is gradually taking this back and trying to understand what is it that you and I can do to make this a reality in my factory or in my company where I work, but the fact that there is an emerging need to be compliant. Otherwise, you can see the fines that you and I will be imposed upon, which can be quite punitive, right? There's some serious money over here that is already scaring people, and there are attempts to make this better. We are trying ourselves to go deeper into this. I believe also at APN there will be an opportunity that one day in one of my presentations we also bring about, right, the waste management ministries, uh, bring them on board, NEMA, and say what is it that you and I can really do, right? So let's together join hands. First, like I said, this whole concept is so large. Even what at the pharma industry level, I could have gone much deeper, but in the interest of time and the thought that this is an introductory session on this whole concept is why I've tried to keep it to this level of briefness and not go into any further detail. But at CAPI, again, so what we do is before any of our presentations in our general meetings, we have these 2 slides that we bring about that reminds everybody that we are here for our patients, but there is an impact, there is a footprint that we are leaving behind on the environment. What is it that you and I can do together to make it a positive footprint? And I encourage APN, consider such an activity yourselves, that along with the introduction that you gave, Julia, bring about the importance that, look, eco-pharmacovigilance is an emerging issue, and we all have a role to play in this. So we talk about, like I said, these 2 slides are to create that awareness and to echo the voice on a continuous basis, to say that we can work on this together, and the fact that individually and collectively we have a role to play for a healthier ecosystem. All right. So with that, I wish to end my presentation today, quoting that pollution anywhere becomes a problem everywhere. Thank you so much, and I hope this was something that provided an opportunity to everyone to think about something different and learn about something different, but hopefully we can join hands and do something for what we have learned today. Thank you, and over to you, Juliet.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayesh. That session was such a valuable session for us, and we have questions for you. I have been learning as well. I have so many notes and also have questions. I want to give priority to our audience this afternoon. And before I go to the questions that are the Q&A box, I have someone who has raised their hand and they would like to voice their question. That is Dr. Kavi. So, Doc, I'm allowing your mic, and it is enabled now. Please, you can unmute and voice your question. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for the great presentation, Dr. Jayesh. I'm just trying to understand, like, where is the future going to head with all of this? And what would be the sort of key stepping stone which we can all play a part in to make it a positive difference?
Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Jayesh. Maybe you can answer his question first.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Kavi. As I mentioned to you in the presentation, I strongly believe that there is a role that we can play. If we continue to, turn a blind eye to this emerging fact, right, that it is there, then the environment will punish us one day, similarly to what I guess we have seen during COVID. I remember, in COVID, a lot of people started saying, hey, look, with us not traveling, with us not going around, right, the air around my house is so much more pure, right? You can see that the right? Sorry, there's some background sound. So people, I remember in several countries saying that I am based in this city and I can see now Mount Kenya. I'm in Nairobi, but I can see Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya much more clearly today from my terrace, right? Likewise, I remember in Delhi, people are saying that they can see the Himalayas seated out of Delhi, right? So nature, the environment will punish us one day or the other. And this is the future that I'm seeing, that if we can join hands together in our respective countries, whether we are in Kenya or the UK, I understand you are from UK, wherever we are, there has to be a role that we have to play towards a sustainable, greener future. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Josh. Thank you, Dr. Kavi, for that question. Doc, I have some questions for you on the Q&A box, and I will start with Jean. She's saying, what indicators should be used to assess the environmental sustainability of pharmaceutical products and processes?
Good question. The point is, have we ever checked on this, right? I believe there is a need that the water that you and I drink needs to be tested, right? Let's start there. Yes, I know NEMA, again, I'm not sure which country you come from, but the environmental agencies in our respective countries do come and they test and bring about results. I think we need to go a step further to look beyond fungi growth in our water, or we talk about um, other chemicals or pollutants that come into our water. I think there is need to look at chemicals, as in pharmaceuticals, and I mean, one day I'll also try and talk about microplastics, right? We talk about, that's another emerging story on its own, that you and I think our waters are fine, everything looks clear, but the microplastics that are there and the kind of problems that they're causing is worthy enough for us to look at exactly the indicators that you are saying. So NEMA has come up with certain standards, right, that are there. Let's interact with them. Let's bring them on board. Let's learn from them more and more in detail. And I believe that will guide us. But still, a key pharma indicator remains what you and I do to the medicines that you and I have in our homes, or the kind of medicines that we are manufacturing in our factories, right? So I don't have a single answer to that, but it's an emerging field that we need to work alongside the authorities that I had brought in, but ultimately it's what you and I can do better. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Jayesh. I have a second question here for you, and it's still from Jane, and she says, can pharmacovigilance systems be expanded to include environmental impact tracking for pharmaceuticals? And if so, how?
Exactly. Thank you, Janet. And this is exactly what my dream is about. Uh, when I brought in the story about Phocomelia, uh, it was a scientific papers that came up and brought this on. Pharmacovigilance got a birth at that time in the late 50s when everyone started looking at individual case reports, right? And everyone said, hey, hold on, beyond availability and supply of medicines, we need to look at how these medicines react in our bodies. And pharmacovigilance grew from those individual cases to bring about cohort cases, to bring about larger studies. Pharmacovigilance expanded to bringing clinical trials. So phases of preclinical, clinical, and post-market came under pharmacovigilance. We talk about counterfeits and spurious medicines. That has been the latest concept that was brought in, right? Prior to that, when we talk about use of medicines in pregnancy, use of medicines in geriatrics, what about drug food interactions, right? So likewise, I believe that if you are a pharmacovigilante or somebody who is interested in pharmacovigilance, and I hope everyone today become even more interested in this concept of pharmacovigilance, I believe that this should be that emerging add-on to the concept of pharmacovigilance with a view on the environment that we work in. When we talk about, we have specialists of PV or clinical pharmacy, whatever term that we use, there are PV specialists in renal, there are PV specialists in radiotherapy. I hope that through this introduction, we will start seeing budding, emerging specialists in the pharmaceutical field or in the other medical and allied courses who will become specialists in greener medicine, right? They will take upon a keener interest on that whole concept of medicine, but now copy paste and see how does this affect the environment, right? So yes, I believe there is an important role, and that should be the emerging concept of pharmacovigilance. Hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jayesh. I have a third question here for you. This one is from me. What are the most common pollutants released during pharmaceutical manufacturing?
So, Juliet, every single item that we use in that manufacturing of our most common tablet or syrup or injection, right, has what I mentioned, EPPPs, right? Some may be short term, some may be long term, right? But the fact is, they do have an effect. So I really don't want to zone down and just say this medicine, because it is not just this API or a pollutant that is causing a lot of problem. But also the second reason I don't want to do this is because uh, um, sometimes I have seen that when we talk about one class of medicine, then that manufacturer goes back and says, "Yeah, it's okay. Jayesh mentioned that. Oh, this is only NSAIDs and it doesn't affect me, and I only do antimicrobials." No, this is for each and every one, and also the industry that does medical devices, right? So there is no single one. But yes, if I answer your question from the angle that you can see that there are steroidal moieties that are playing a role in the environment. We talk about estrogens, progestrogens, right? There is antipsychiatric medicines that I talked about. There are antimicrobials that are there. There are cancer medicines, right? Neoplastics that are there that is causing a problem. So if we actually understand that we are who we are, but there are similar body systems, right? In so many words, there is a liver or there is a lung in the plant that we see out there that is beautiful and flowering, then we will realize that that lung in the plant or the tree can also be affected through the medicine that I otherwise would inappropriately dispose. Right? So I hope that helps you, Juliet.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And when you are speaking of the partnerships that we need to have and coming together as an industry so that we address the issue that is at hand with us, what are some of the foreseen technical challenges that for you as an expert you have seen when it comes to addressing or being able to create biodegradable or environmentally safer pharmaceuticals? What are some of the challenges that you foresee?
So I give you the example where I have interacted within our industry forum as well as externally, right? And the biggest problem that we have is, where do we start, right? Where can we start and say, this is what I can do? I believe this whole concept of pharmaceutical waste and its appropriate disposal and otherwise the impact on the environment is so interconnected with our daily activities that I find it really difficult to say this is where I can start. I believe academia, or those of us who are in academics and we have mentors and students whom we are guiding, I think there is an important role to start this off there, right? That they can go and test the rivers, and we can do this together as APN or the PSK and CAPI, and let's test the rivers and find out, is this really a problem, or Jayesh, you are just cooking up stories and telling us that no, there is an emerging threat. Let's get into the bottom of this. Let's test rivers where we have pharma companies, where exudates and the waste is being otherwise discharged. Alongside with that, there is a whole concept of what is happening right now, right, with the manufacturing or my regular practice as a pharmacist, right? And the fact about sustainability. These are two different angles to look at from the same problem, but I believe that it is only when we marry them together and bring them together where a role on this can come about, right? I believe this concept should be brought into schools, right? When we talk about, science projects. And happy to say that my daughter with her friends, they took this up in a very different manner, and they did that in their school. And those of us who are familiar with, how the Science Congress works in Kenya, right? They moved from their school and inter-school to to a county level, and then to inter-county level, and then they moved to the national level. I believe this is where we need to be tapping already, to say that let that youth start thinking about this. Otherwise, we will just continue to live within the rot that we are used to living, right? So it is not easy to start off, and it is not easy to say these are the only people who are otherwise interested in my work. I look at the angle of take back systems, right? The brown bag system that we otherwise call. Why can't we really bring this whole concept into our country, right? Where I know certain hospitals in our countries do this, that you get your medicines in a pack, and it tells you that in this same bag, if you have any unused medicine, bring them back to us, right? So can we actually revive such a system? Can we have talk shows to the public and make them aware that, look, there is a concept you need to understand, where we should not be dumping our medicines down the drain or in the regular rubbish bins, the garbage bins that we have. And I'm glad that I saw, was it 2 3 weeks ago, in the COP meetings that is there talking about the environment, the Minister for Environment said that this is coming into Kenya now as mandatory, where we will have brown bins, blue bins, and green bins, right? So that our waste, domestic waste, office waste, can already be separated at that point. I remember, very, very pleasant memories when I was a kid visiting UK. I had my cousins, they had their restaurant. So from the restaurant, they have their bottles, they have their food waste, and other plastic waste that comes up. And my cousin and I were tasked that, you are just like any other household. The youngest people are being told, go and do this. But for me, it was an opportunity to learn what this is. Now, yes, I was 13, 14 at that time. But we had to carry glass bottles, plastic, and food hardly 300-400 meters away, where the area dump site was there. Large bins. And we were told very clearly, glass in this. And for me, I come from a background that you want to reuse, right? Glass bottles at home. Then here you are taking the glass bottles and throwing it, and it crashes, and you get that pleasant sound of clang, yeah, the whole glass has shattered. But then you think that, wow, what will they now do with this glass? Likewise, the biodegradable items that we had, the food stuff there, and the paper stuff. So, and the plastic, sorry. So, it was something that was so nice to me at that point. And I believe it's now time where, through such an engagement, I'm able to hopefully plant that seed of thought in each one of us here today. I think we are, 60, 65 plus. Then can we think back, right? Pause and think back. It's not something that you can do immediately, but let's form small working groups and look at this otherwise big problem from different angles. So each working group approaches in a different angle, and we take this up. Otherwise, the problem is humongous, right? We will all continue to work in our own silos. It is high time that we join hands and realize that it's the same environment that affects us. Hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jesh. That is very true. It is our responsibility, each and every one of us. We are either contributing to the problem or contributing to the solution. And from this industry discussion forum this afternoon, I want to believe that we will be contributing to the solution. We will find those solutions. We will come together and actually work towards them, because pollution anywhere becomes a problem everywhere. That there is a fish in the sea that is affected because of some drugs that you poured or flushed down your drain, that you are actually affecting the lives of animals and plants somewhere just because you are ignorant. But we say thank you so much because you have enlightened us. We are better than we were when we entered here. Now we know about eco-pharmacovigilance and how to go about it. But this is just a stepping stone of greater things that are yet to come. But there is much work that needs to be done, and let us just get on board. So right now, I would like to give an opportunity to at least one participant to share their comment, or maybe to share one last question, because we are almost getting to our time, that is 5:30. So I want to grant an opportunity to someone else. You are here, you would like to voice your comment, you'd like to ask a question, you'd like to share encouragement with us. This is the moment. Then we can get your feedback and have Dr. Jayesh give us his final remarks. Anyone who would like to share with us this afternoon? I am so glad to see many of you who have been interacting with us over a long period of time, actually since 2023. Thank you so much for joining us. I truly acknowledge your audience and your presence here. All right, anyone?
And if I may add my voice, especially somebody who feels that no, this is worth looking into, and has managed to think of something that they can do individually and collectively. I would like to hear from you especially.
Very true, Dr. Jayesh. I would also like to hear from someone right now. I have Abraham here, Dr. Abraham Wicks, and he's found the session quite enlightening, and he sees great opportunities and partnerships with the Caribbean Association of Pharmacists, and he would like to stay in touch. And we would definitely contact you. But before we get to that moment, we would like to give you an opportunity to share with us your perspectives. What do you see? What do you foresee these partnerships looking like, the kind of work that you would do? Abraham, if you're here with us, I would love to give you this opportunity so that we can hear from you. You can raise your hand. All right, I have seen you. Let me just allow your mic. Then you can unmute from your side. Your microphone is enabled. If you'd like to share just a few things with us. Mhm. Mhm. All right, 1 second. Okay, you'll be sharing with us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, just raise your hand. Raise your hand. I want to believe the person that I have enabled is you. You can unmute. You can now unmute from your side. Yes. Go ahead and unmute, then you can speak to us. All right, just a minute. Abraham is having challenges unmuting his microphone. Just give us a minute. Doc, you can go ahead maybe and text, but it is enabled from my end. It's all right. When you're able, you let us know. So I would like you to join us on Menti so that you can share your feedback with us. This is each and every one of us. On menti.com, the passcode is 44285401. Share your feedback with us on how you found the session this afternoon.
Juliet, are you with us? I think there was a technical challenge. She seemed to have dropped off, but kindly, as she had requested, kindly go on Menti. Just would like to get to know how you found this session and if there are any other relevant topics that you'd want us to facilitate in future sessions as well. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the session? That is 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. For those of you who've not used Menti before, so you just go on your browser and you type in menti.com. It will request for a code. The code is 44285401. So just select one option from the scale of 1 to 5. You can also let us know why you assigned the score that you did. So if you selected 5, what particularly made you select that 5? I can see Abraham has his hand up. Abraham, are you in a position to unmute? I'll try and check on my end. Please continue sharing your responses on Menti as I try to give Abraham the opportunity. Let me check if you are enabled. Seems to be enabled on my end. Let me try again. Can you try again? Disabled and enabled again. Let me know if it allows in your end. All right. I don't know. Could be a technical challenge.
Are you able to make Abraham a speaker, maybe, if that helps?
Yes. That's what I've done actually. So Abraham, you can go ahead.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've looked forward to this session from the time I saw it being advertised, and I normally attend activities from the Africa Pharmaceutical Network. And let me just say, for me, from the Caribbean, there's just a natural connection to Africa, as you know, because of our history. And my head of unit is actually from Kenya. So there is definitely a connection. Dr. Jaish, let me just say I enjoyed your presentation thoroughly. And I want to say also, through history, we have produced items, but we have never thought about how we get those items out of the environment when we have produced them. Now we have a perfect opportunity as we start to discuss the whole area of climate change to really get our bang for our buck. And I think I love your quote so much when you say, I love the patient, but I also love the environment also. So I think it is something, and I put that down and I ascribe that quote to you, because I think it is something, whenever we speak to patients, we can always help them understand that, yes, we are helping you take your medicine, but you need to go a step further and help us take care of the environment. So I want to thank you so much, colleagues. I'm a pharmacist myself. I work for the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. I'm the Senior Technical Specialist for Quality Assurance of Medicines. And just a brief note about my organization, we buy medicines for 9 OECS countries. a population of, like, say, 500,000, not that much as opposed to the continent, but that's my role. And I continue to advocate for the role of pharmacists in healthcare systems, quality products, as you've said, Dr. Jayesh, and so much more. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Doc. Quite enthusiastic from you. I can feel the passion in even how you're speaking, and it's quite inspiring. We are definitely looking forward to the partnerships that you've talked about. I think even for the session that you've started on environmentally sustainable healthcare, we actually plan on having a few other, it's a series of webinars that we'll be doing. So we will actually see how we can drop you in one of these webinars, because this one was actually targeted towards the pharmaceutical industry, but you'll have, I think, two more. One towards the primary healthcare, that is the community level, the clinical setting, the community pharmacies, the hospitals themselves, and then one with the regulators, that is the national regulatory authorities and the environmental authorities as well, NEMA, as Doc has mentioned. So please stay tuned. I think this will be happening next year, given that you're going into the holidays, but we'll definitely rope you in, Dr. Abraham, to see how we can push this agenda. Yes. So I will also like to take you back to the Menti if you weren't there. We actually would love to get input from you on how we can push for this agenda even further, or other agendas that you feel are pressing within the pharmaceutical industry at large. So let me just bring back my Menti. We were on question 2, where you were telling us more about the rating that you provided. Thank you for those who are responding. We appreciate it. And what have you learned from the webinar today? I know it's quite a relatively new topic. I've learned so much. Thank you, Doc. You've done an amazing job in how you facilitated the session. Also quite interesting to have learned how Kenya once had the brown envelope system and then dropped it along the way. In your opinion, what do you think are some of the shortcomings that we faced that led to this?
Juliet, if I may, I see one of my colleagues that we work on this together. Jerin, he's on call. I want to recognize his presence. Jerin, along with a colleague of ours from Ghana, Ernest, we are part of ISOP, what you saw on my introductory slide. ISOP is the International Society of Pharmacovigilance. ISOP has many chapters for different regions of the world, alongside the fact that we have special interest groups, that's SIG, special interest groups. For those who are interested in learning more about eco-pharmacovigilance, I encourage you to join us at ISOP. If you are a member of ISOP, that will help you. It will really bring about a whole change in your thinking towards patient safety. And once you're a member of ISOP, you can become a member of our SIG. And if Jerin, you are able to retrieve our QR code, please feel free to post it here. That will help. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Doc. Also, thank you for joining, Dr. Jael. The Jael. Hope I said it correctly.
Jerin, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think I will just take this moment to thank everyone for joining the session today. I hope that the session has been relevant to you and to your practice wherever you are. I know most of us are practicing within the pharmaceutical industry, so I hope that you've been able to learn one or two things today that will enable you to practice better in your capacity wherever you are. And before I give my remarks, I would like to also take this opportunity to invite you to an upcoming dinner that we'll be having tomorrow, where we will be discussing curbing the burden of counterfeit and substandard health products and technologies. A health systems approach that is now looking at how all the stakeholders within the pharmaceutical industry, all the way from the pharmacist and healthcare providers working in the hospital or clinical settings, that is cut across pharmacists, nurses, medical officers, because we all have a role to play, all the way to the roles that the ones in the pharmaceutical industry, whether you're in regulatory affairs, supply chain, pharmacovigilance. How can you contribute to curbing this burden, because it's actually becoming a menace, and Africa is bearing the biggest burden, with 1 in every 10 products being counterfeit or substandard. So we'll be looking at how we can have concerted efforts to curbing this burden, because most of us, as it is, we are working in our own departments rather than looking at how collectively this can shape the pharmaceutical industry at large. So we're inviting you to be at Golden Tulip tomorrow starting 7 p.m. We're inviting you to come join us as we shape the landscape of the pharmaceutical industry. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining today. Stay tuned on our social media platforms for the consecutive sessions that we'll be facilitating for this particular topic on promoting environmental sustainability. Thank you for your patience as well. Thank you for being such lovely participants. And I would like to give Dr. Jayesh to give a final remark before we close it off.
Yeah, my remark is together we can make it happen. I'm grateful. I saw those feedback comments. Truly appreciate, and I'm delighted to see that everyone saw this session to be valuable. The link is up here, as Jarin has shared. So please, if you would like to contribute, learn more as well as share more, right? We're looking at more people to be able to join us to make it a more greener and safer environment. Please join the group that the link has been posted on. And yes, don't think that you are too small a person or an entity to make a difference. I think each and every one, whatever little waste that we can save and manage, will help our future generations. So thank you so much, APN. Thank you so much, the audience. Delighted to see people joining us from far and wide. Thank you to all those who ask questions. It is through this that I can share what's otherwise deep down in my heart, and we can bring it out together. Thank you so much, and to a more greener environment. Thank you.
Well said, Doc. Thank you so much. And there's actually this saying we have in Kiswahili, haba na haba hujaza kibaba. So it actually means, for those who don't understand Kiswahili, it means that the small contributions that you're making wherever you are, even in your own capacity, one day, one time, it will contribute to that greater goal that we are hoping to, or that we are envisioning. So may it be always engraved in your mind, so that it motivates you to even work towards the greater goal that we all are hoping to achieve. And you have been a lovely facilitator, Dr. Jayesh. We've learned so much from you. So a special thank you to you. We couldn't have done this without you. We are gathered here today because of you. And with that, I would like to wish you all a lovely evening, or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. I forgot that you are joining from different parts of the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Dr. Abraham. Looking forward to staying connected.